The eagerly anticipated IPO is finally here, and the XRP Army has been waiting for it. By submitting its S1 registration to the SEC, Ripple has finally verified its initial public offering IPO. After years of whispers, court fights, and regulatory ambiguity, Ripple will finally be visible to the world. The true narrative lies beneath the surface of the massive news articles. XRPS could reach previously unheard of heights due to a powerful twist. Wall Street will be confronted for the first time with XRP, the cryptocurrency that powers Ripple's international payment network. Ripple's initial public offering is a watershed moment for the business and the Bitcoin market as a whole. This listing isn't just another exchange or currency pump. It's a big public debut in Silicon Valley fashion. As tech and financial behemoths Coinbase, PayPal, and Visa are now on par with Ripple, however, there is a significant distinction. The cryptocurrency startup Ripple is no longer dangerous. Rather, it is a lucrative fintech behemoth with connections to international institutions and a real-world utility token at its heart. A few individuals in the know claim that Ripple's initial public offering IPO attempted to boost the company's valuation to over $100 billion, immediately placing it among the most valuable fintech firms globally. Because every dollar of that value is directly related to XRP, things start to get pretty interesting. Let's first discuss what an S1 file is. To put it simply, investors may learn all they need to know about Ripple prior from its S1 filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. This covers the business's revenue streams, ownership structure, financial standing, and future goals. For many years, Ripple has generated revenue through its payment network, institutional relationships, and above all, its on-demand liquidity platform, which uses XRP to settle international transactions. To put it another way, the use and value of the XRP cryptocurrency are key to Ripple's business strategy. And Wall Street will finally realize what XRP investors have understood all along, that XRP is simply a cryptocurrency. Once the S1 filing is made public, it is essential to the operation of Ripple's ecosystem. Unexpectedly, a special dividend or XRP allocation to Ripple owners may be part of the company's IPO. If this were true, just think of how the financial world would be rocked. If even a tiny percentage of Ripple's IPO investors acquire XRP as part of their share, it would be the first time that millions of ordinary investors have ever heard of it. This would be the most effective technique to link digital commodities and traditional currency. An entirely new wave of adoption might result from institutional investors holding cryptocurrency rather than only reading about it. Consider it in this manner. Coinbase raised more than simply billions of dollars when it went public in 2021. Additionally, it boosted Wall Street's trust in the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. Suppose that Ripple followed suit. However, it had its own currencies, active collaborations with central banks, and direct links to a functional worldwide payment network. That is a crucial aspect of its operation. There could be a significant impact on the market. Institutional investors, mutual funds, and ordinary stock buyers will research Ripple before the IPO. What are they going to discover? They will discover XRP, the digital asset that connects the business's global strategy, cash flow, and technology. Additionally, investors will be unable to control their FOMO once they realize how much less valuable XRP is than Ripple. Invest even 10% of that money in the XRP token to get into Ripple's cryptocurrency company. The market capitalization of XRP might increase by tens of billions of dollars overnight as a result of this. Analysts are already planning for the possible outcome of this. To be honest, even the most optimistic forecasts indicate that when the market adjusts to this new reality, the price of XRP will reach 75 to 100s. And that's only the beginning. The IPO of Ripple is also a huge event. It is the last evidence that blockchain technology can be applied to traditional banking. Unlike other cryptocurrency startups, Ripple derives its value from practical applications. Its technology is already being used by banks, payment processors, and central banks worldwide. It resolves a trillion-dollar issue. Cross-border funds aren't always simple or rapid. There won't be any question about the connection between stock and token once buyers realize that Ripple's primary revenue stream is dependent on how successfully and swiftly XRP can be bought and sold. Simply purchasing shares of Ripple is insufficient. You must be aware that XRP is the reason of Ripple's success. Let's see how individuals believe the media will begin discussing Ripple once more while we wait to see what happens next. There is discussion about this cryptocurrency company going public on CNBC, Bloomberg, and Forbes as the IPO frenzy increases. Regular customers will suddenly discover XP again if they missed its early days. Institutional investors that were previously uninterested in cryptocurrency will be examining XP's tenets, and XRP will be discussed in relation to business, technology, and finance whenever the Ripple IPO occurs. The two are inextricably linked. In this way, awareness becomes desire and demand determines price. What matters most, though, is what Ripple's IPO means for the government. Ripple is currently in compliance with U.S. securities legislation after filing with the SEC and receiving approval for initial public offering. To use a pun, that explicit restriction affects other areas. For investors, this implies that legal uncertainty no longer poses a danger to XRP. Large exchanges, funds, and institutional products like exchange-traded funds, ETFs, can now employ XRP without fear of legal repercussions. In other words, the IPO of Ripple does more than simply assist the business. Additionally, it expands the global market for XRP. Additionally, don't overlook the IPO period. Right now, Ripple is growing all over the world. With central banks in more than 20 countries, Ripple is already developing CBC solutions and liquidity lanes that make use of the XRP ledger. These connections will be highlighted in investor presentations and filings when the company goes public, bringing attention to the use of XRP globally. It isn't hype, that's the reality. Additionally, there is the issue of reputation. It communicates to the whole financial community that blockchain is no longer a test project. The kind of mental shift that can cause markets to shift overnight is when a company like Ripple listings on a major US stock exchange. The IPO of Ripple has the potential to alter the narrative surrounding cryptocurrency-based banking, much like Tesla did with electric vehicles. The digital asset that links conventional currency to the future of international payments in this tale is XRP. Let's discuss numbers. Prior to the IPO, Ripple issued private shares, which have since sold for almost $50 billion on secondary markets. The company was first invested in by major venture capital firms, including Tetragon, Horowitz, and Andreessen. Once Ripple goes public, those values may easily double. The current market value of XRP is between 30 and 40 billion, assuming the IPO starts at roughly 100 billion. The disparity in value between XRP coins and Ripple's firm cannot continue for very long. You can be certain that money will simply shift from Ripple shares to XRP when investors become aware of this discrepancy. Search for a method to use the token to increase their exposure to Ripple's success. This concludes the narrative. In its early days, Ripple was founded on the concept of XRP. It was a digital asset that allowed for speedy international money transfers. Although it was the foundation of the firm, government opposition caused it to be slower to use. The IPO was approved, rules are clear, and the fight with the SEC is done. Finally, that initial objective is being achieved. The IPO of Ripple is significant for more reasons than merely cash. The majority of people are now aware of XRP's true value. The largest shift in wealth in cryptocurrency history may result from the Ripple IPO. After years of uncertainty, early XRP users may finally receive what they have been waiting for. Some organizations that once believed that XRP was merely a cryptocurrency for bankers might soon be vying for its purchase. Analysts will soon begin publishing reports that demonstrate the relationship between the volume of XRP on the blockchain and the performance of Ripple shares. Furthermore, XRP is actually increasingly crucial to Ripple's business strategy as it expands. This situation is the result of an ongoing loop. For XRP, this might usher in a completely new era of price discovery. What comes next? The public will soon have access to Ripple's S1 filing. It covers all aspects of the business, including long-term strategies, relationships, and finances. Every line will be examined by investors to check for any references to XRP. Exchanges are preparing for a significant volume of negotiating. Once the IPO date is determined and trading begins, the floodgates will unleash.